Is 0W20 going to make us burn more oil or less oil? So let's see if we can do this without getting dirty. I got a little stir crazy waiting for the engine treatment votes to accumulate. And the Corolla was begging for an oil change. So I said, you know what? Let's see if we can squeeze another little experiment in here while we're waiting. The research question is this: will a thinner oil be easier for the low tension piston rings to scrape out of the way? And if the oil drain back holes are not completely clogged, if they're just narrowed, will a thinner oil be able to get through the smaller hole and maybe help clean them up? I probably should mention that one of the most recommended fixes since I started making these videos has been use thicker oil. Oh, and as far as the voting goes, as you might have guessed, BG's Dynamic Engine Cleaner is ahead, but Berryman's is not that far behind. I also want to say that I'm going to try to start chaptering these videos so those who don't care for all the Corolla travels can just jump ahead to the oil checks and the results at the end, if you want. Car calls for 5W30 to 10W30. Is 0W20 going to make us burn more oil or less oil? I want to make this video quick, so actually it's early in the morning. I didn't have any jobs today. I'm going to change the oil and filter in the Corolla using this 0W20, and then we're going to take it on a long drive so we can get to at least 300 miles today. Since we've been recording the oil use at 300 miles every time, we'll be able to see pretty quickly if 0W20 oil affects the oil use. Let's change the oil. Some people mentioned using a solo cup to get the oil filter off a little more cleanly. Oh, there we go. I don't have any spare cardboard at the moment, so I'm going to use this rosin paper. Keep the wind from blowing it away. I know I don't put this thing on tight. Okay, I'm going to start to loosen this oil filter by hand before I use the solo cup. There we go. Alright, there it is. So let's see if we can do this without getting dirty. Solo cup in place. Oh, I feel the bottom of it getting warm. I think it's filling up with oil. Sweet. Oh wait, I still got some on my fingers. How did that happen? It did capture almost all of it, but some still managed to get on my knuckles. So far, that's the best trick though. Look down there in the bottom. That is a lot of oil. So we're just gonna dump this out in there. Clean that up. Careful not to get any grit inside there. Let's prep our oil filter. This doesn't come with a seal on it. Now, how many of you think the oil use is going to get worse putting 0W20 in here? That's what the newer cars are calling for, and some people say it's because of the low tension rings. And it pours just like 530. It's about 70 degrees right now. And the oil actually should be about 73 degrees because that's what we keep it in the house, and that's where it's been. And it's not draining any faster than it usually does. That's about 3.5 quarts there, so that's enough to crank it and get it off the jack stands and park it where we usually park it to check the oil. So this will allow us to get some oil in the filter so that when we do add it up to the full mark, we'll know everything's right. Okay, so it's been a couple of minutes. We know oil is in the filter. The engine is warm because I just took my wife to work before I did this oil change. So of course, now the question is going to be, if the mileage does change for the better, is it because we use 0W20 or is it because we used Pennzoil Platinum? Oh, you know what? I was looking at the oil backward. We didn't have 3.5 quarts. We had like 2.5 quarts in it. Oh well, that's plenty. We're going to take it to about 4 quart mark. That should be pretty close there. Let's let that drain down for a couple of minutes. Okay, let's check it again. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully you can see it. Let's throw this in the trunk. All right, let's see what this HPL oil looks like used. Seems to be thinned out pretty good. It's draining really fast, even through this small funnel. But look how it clings to the side of that funnel. Let's reset the oil trip. So trip B. Okay, let's head to Charleston. It was a perfect day to head to Charleston. Like we're already down a quarter, right about where my fingernail is. We're here with 205 miles. Let's see what the oil looks like. Looks like we are about halfway on the dipstick.
No, you can't put this on the screen. Yeah, I can't have any of the CDMS stuff up anywhere. I could literally get fired. It's like proprietary. What, is it a video or you want me to smile?
The weather was drier and cooler than typical. One of those days where everyone opens their windows. He's under this couch or under the...
He's under the white couch. Get it right by the white couch.
Fraidy cat. I think he's way back under there.
Okay. Yeah, he's scared of my shoes right now, too. He hates shoes.
You scared of shoes? Are you scared of shoes? Mm. There's the Cooper River over there. And this marsh apparently goes right into it. We might canoe or paddleboard or kayak it tonight sometime. She was working, so the plan was to grab us some lunch from this little deli I've been wanting to try for a while. Then I'd go hang out at my parents' rental. Until it was time to go back to my daughter's for some homemade pizza.
No food tonight.
They love raccoons and have several visit every night.
You know what? I do have a bagel for you. I burnt one this morning.
I used to think raccoons were cute
Give me some water too. You want me to go get the bagel?
until we had pet poultry.
Hi, sweetie. Hi, pretty.
After dinner, we watched the first episode of Numbers, then I headed back to my parents to turn in. I apparently have like a gecko or something staying in my room. The plan was to head back to my daughter's and have a paddle in the river while it was high tide.
Northwest toward Towne Boulevard. Northeast toward Towne Boulevard.
Alright, we're at 300 miles. This is where we get the best feel for it. Give it a minute to drain down. Alright, at 300 miles using 0W20 oil, it looks like where my fingernail is right there. A little more than halfway. After that, she wanted to take me to her favorite barbecue place. She's a vegetarian, by the way.
Like, do you see that $4.50 for this as a side? That's a good deal, isn't it? I'm trying to remember which one I like best.
Before we headed downtown to get some footage for those of you who've never been there, she wanted to make a stop at the Habitat for Humanity store.
She said something about wanting a chest.
Yeah, and this isn't cedar lined, this is solid cedar. I bought this chair for my wife, but it didn't fit in the car. If you want to visit Charleston, I recommend going in early fall. Summers there can be brutal. Which one of these was made in Clay Cafe? this Wendy's and get some food and check the oil in the shade right here. This looks...
Continue on regional.
Alright, it's had time to drain down. Got my food.
How you doing?
Good, how are y'all doing?
Pretty good.
We're almost all the way down, or we're right there. I'm gonna have to do the napkin test. Put it against there, slide it down. Okay, so there you go. Not quite a quarter left between the dots. We'll see, we might be able to get 500 miles out of this. Oh man, look at that. That's a Dave's triple. Napkin test again. There. Touch it. Move it down. Yep. Right at that bottom dot. So we didn't make it quite 500 miles with the 0W20 in it. Guess we'll just top it off, but this experiment is basically over. Actually, we're not even going to top it off because this shouldn't be enough oil to top it off. That brought us up to almost to the top. Wait a minute, let's try that again. Right there, down. No, so we're about 3/4 up on the dipstick. Let's go on home. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. And here's a little something extra. Oh. That is cool.
The guy that did the upholstery did all the upholstery for Stevens aircraft. And this has been several years ago. I bought this car in 1989, and it those wheels are mini light wheels, not the actual mini lights. They're knockoffs. This car has a new front end with disc brakes on the front, drum brakes on the rear. The engine is completely redone. It used to be 43 horsepower, brand new. It was a 948, and now it's got a transmission that is in the newer model of Sprite and MG Midget. This is the last one built in 1960. I ran the numbers on it, and in 1960 in December was one of the last ones built, and they titled it as a 61. But in 1960 and a half, I guess it was, they switched over to the MG Midget and the Austin Healey Sprite. It's a Sprite at mid-year. It's got a brand new gas tank in it.
Can we see the engine?
Yeah. The original steering wheel was very kit for that, and so we switched it out to where it can have a screw on. Yeah, slam it, then it starts wearing this.
Okay.
So you bring this.
Okay.
All right.
Gotcha. go-kart.
So it would have been 61, and the new Sprites and the NG midgets, they went to a what they call a rib cage, which is a heavy duty transmission. And so when I bought this car, of course, it had the old one in it, and it was failing on me, and so I had an issue with that. Also, I had an issue going on with with that transmission. Had a reverse rotation that would take the oil and push it back into the engine rather than it coming into the transmission. So there's a kit that you can buy, and that eliminates that. And so what we did is we went and said, okay, let's get the newer transmission. He found me one out of Atlanta, and so we got that, and he said, you want a heavy duty clutch, or do you want the regular? And I said, let's go heavy duty. So that's what we did. We got a heavy duty clutch, and then, but in order to change that out, you have to pull the engine. Everything has to come out, and then reconnect everything, put it back in. So the guy that did it for me is working for Mazda, and he is a super guy. He and because I've got a Miata, and I know those guys over there, and they said, yeah, they could do it. So they pulled it out, did everything, and he had to do it in his spare time. And he did put it all together, put it back in the car, and we had an oil leak. It was like, oh my gosh, it didn't seat right. And so we had to pull it again, redo it, and now it's fine. So like I said, it's got the new transmission, heavy duty clutch, electric fuel pump. It's got the Weber carburetor. It's got disc brakes on the front. And that, Alan helped me with that. We put a new front end under it. It's got the drum brakes, but all the brake shoes, everything has been replaced. They're all brand new.
And electronic ignition, right?
Yeah, electronic ignition. And so, in essence, see, my deal, I had a MGA, 1959 MGA when I was in high school. And so I've always been fascinated and loved English cars. So I had that. When I got out of college, I bought a used 1962 Austin Healey 3000. Had triple carburetors. Drove it, I don't know, about maybe 3 years. And back then didn't have any money. So I sold it, but turned around and bought a 66 Austin Healey 3000. It had the roll-up windows and all that. So I've always been into English cars. My classmate had, as I said, has this car, and it had steel wheels on it, which I still have all the original stuff if anybody wanted to, buy it. But anyway, it had steel wheels, and I wanted the mini lights. It was yellow. Originally, the car was that Healey red color. It's kind of a faded looking red. And so I had this car painted in 1990, and a good friend of mine did it. It's Camaro red, 1967 Camaro red. Had the seats redone by a upholstery that did all the seats and so forth for Stevens aircraft. So he did this for me, did little extra things. My whole mantra, I guess you would say, is to preserve the cars, to preserve them and drive them. It's not a show car, but it is mechanically sound and fun to drive, and you need to drive them. That's kind of where I am with it. The tag is Frog Eye. In England, that's what the name of this car was, Frog Eye, because of the headlights. And the reason those headlights are that way is because the Healey brothers, they wanted to do the lights that would manually would go down, and you would not, like the Corvettes.
Yeah.
Well,
TR7s.
They were under pressure. They couldn't figure it out cost-wise, and so they decided just to mount them like that. 4-cylinder engine, 43 horsepower. When I had this engine, when we rebuilt it, I'm probably running about 50 horsepower now, because we changed out it had a 948 head on it. The head cracked, and that's why I had to get the engine rebuilt. So we put a 1700 cc on it. So that's what, and also we changed the pistons in it as well, which jacked it up. I'm guessing 50 horsepower, I don't know, but that's the difference. The old ones had the 948 head, and this has a 1700 head on it, which is what they went to when they came out with the new 1961 midgets, MG midgets, and 1961 Austin Healey Sprites had the 1700 head, which jacked the horsepower up on. So I don't know. I've not had it dynoed. I don't know what the horsepower is, but I do have headers on it, and so that was another thing I failed to mention to you.